Shutter Speed, episode 11. Last week I covered 5 of my top tools that I use in my toolbox. My toolbox that I run my photography business from day to day. Today is part 2, and we're talking about 7 additional tools that I use. These are tools that I need every single day. Tools that I use every single day. The next 7 are coming up next.
Do you love photography? Are you somebody that wants more out of your photography? To make money from your photography but don't know how to start? Welcome to Shutter Speed. Your host, Peter Spakowski, will guide you with tips, strategies, interviews, and know-how to start making money to pay for date night, new gear, or start a full-time career with your passion of photography. Let's get this show started. Here's your host, Peter Spakowski.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shutter Speed. My name is Peter Spakowski, and I am your host. Today we're talking about additional tools that I use in my toolbox. 7 tools that I use to help run my business. I've been a life and performance coach for a long time and mindset coach, and I help people with their business. As a result, I help people with different tools to help run their business. So it's no different in photography. Some of the tools that I use, if you talk to a photographer, they won't even know what the tool is. Today I'm talking about a couple of those in this episode. Last week was episode 1. So if you missed my top 5 tools, go back and listen to those and then listen to this one. Today I'm going to finish up with 7 additional tools. But before that, I welcome you and thank you for joining me here today. If you haven't done so already, go out and give my podcast a review. Go out and visit my website at 2mmacademy.com. I'm building a website to help photographers take their love and their hobby of photography and start generating a revenue from it, to start creating an income. How would you like to be able to pay for new gear or dinner by the weekend? Sign up for my email list. I'll send you my top 5 strategies for making money in photography to help pay for those by the weekend. Also, this is a free podcast. All that I ask is that you share it with one additional person. Maybe you have somebody that has photography as a hobby and they would like this podcast. They would like the topics on this podcast. Even if they don't want to make money, there's things in this podcast that can help you make your pictures better, to help you become a better photographer. Maybe you have somebody that's already making money in photography. I use tips and strategies to help you make more money in photography. So go ahead and share those to whoever you might. Today, we're talking about 7 additional tools that I use in my toolbox. And this first one was recommended to me from a friend in Austin, Texas, Suzanne Covert, and it has been awesome. This has been one of my favorite tools, and it's also been one of the top tools that I get comments on. And that tool is Shootproof. You need a gallery online to share your pictures with people. You can't just use Lightroom or Capture One to review the pictures with the person in the studio or on location, wherever you might be. You need a proofing tool that people can come back to, that people can make future purchases for. I always make sure that each one of my clients gets a portfolio online, and there's an option on there for them to buy additional pictures. One of my workflows is I review pictures with people in the studio, and then they purchase some pictures. But then I take all the best pictures from the shoot and I put them online so that they can have. Now, Shootproof has it so they can't copy the picture. They can't download the picture. You can put watermarks on it, but I don't know why people do that in most cases, because you can Photoshop that stuff out really easy. So it just ruins the picture for your client's experience. But Shootproof allows you to have a proofing gallery. And then if people purchase a picture from me, they get an additional portfolio online where they can have all their purchased pictures and they're fully edited. they can download them, but once the digital image is there for them to review in the portfolio, there's also options to purchase the picture, and it's all done in shoot-proof, and it's all done without your help, without your involvement. People can go out there and you can purchase pictures. Maybe it's 8x10s, 11x14s. Maybe it's postcards. Maybe it's business cards. Shootproof integrates in with Bay Photo. And last week, if you listen, you know I'm a fan of Bay Photo. And so not just when I order my pictures, do I order from Bay Photo, but now I also have a way that my clients can take their digital proofs, their digital images, and purchase photos from Bay Photo. It's been great. Shootproof will process all the orders, and then they will transfer the money right to your bank account. But Shootproof has been really good. There's multiple different plans, but I highly, highly, highly recommend Shootproof. I've used other online proofing galleries before, and it just has not been the best. So I really like Shootproof. It's got everything that I need. And I will have a link in the show notes for Shootproof. But next one, number 2 is Square. Square is a company that allows you to use credit cards. So if you don't have a place where you can use credit cards, I highly recommend Square. You can send people an email invoice. You can use your phone to use as a point of sale where people can either swipe their credit card. You can manually type it in, but just a caution, if you manually type it in, Square charges you additional money. But so far, Square has not been expensive. There's been some fees, I think on an order of like $2,000, it's just over $40 for processing. So that's not too bad for a point of sale machine. And that's using an online email invoice, but it keeps track of everything that you're selling. It also, if you send somebody an invoice and they're late paying it, you can go out there and set up reminders for somebody. I have reminders set up at 24 hours, 3 days, 7 days, and 10 days. And then after that, I start calling people if they haven't paid their invoice, but then they also don't get their pictures. People have to pay in full before they get their pictures. So I've never had anybody go longer than 5 days without paying because they want their pictures. But Square helps you do that, and it does that very easy, and the fees are not too bad. There's also many, many applications that integrate in with Square. So if you have a proofing gallery, if you have an online scheduling software, a lot of them do interface with Square. Now for me, my Shootproof, my gallery does not integrate with Square, and Acuity does not interface with Square. So I use other points of sales for those. Shootproof actually has their own that they just started, and it's been great. The next one is ConvertKit. And ConvertKit is an application that a lot of photographers don't know. It's an email marketing application. It's an online email marketing management system. It's great that people advertise on Google, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Facebook, any of those other places where you go and advertise. You can't really control the end person's experience. You really can't control who's getting your message or not. You don't own any of your material on any of those platforms. Google does it all the time. Google will cancel services, and it really screws people up for their business. They do that all the time. You have no control. But I highly recommend that people have an email marketing list. Maybe it's an email marketing where you can send people updates on what's going on with your business. Maybe you can just send them tips and strategies for taking pictures with their cell phones, or maybe how to pose with groups. You don't want to be one of those people crouching down in front of a group photo. That just looks weird. So what can you do to help people get better with their own pictures that are being taken of them without you behind the camera. Give them something for free. They'll enjoy that. But ConvertKit allows you to collect email addresses, and then you can do different campaigns. Maybe you're doing a mini session, or you have a sale on certain items, or maybe you have a sale on certain items that are in people's portfolios that you set up in ShootProof. You can set up ConvertKit with different tags. You can tag them as current customer, online portfolio if they have an online portfolio, potential customer. I use ConvertKit a lot, and it's been one of the best email marketing companies I've ever used. I've used multiple different kinds. I've actually canceled ConvertKit twice, and I've always come back. So now I'm going to have to think really hard before I ever leave ConvertKit again, because it's a lot of work when you leave your email marketing, and it takes a lot of work to get things set up and get things rolling again for email marketing. So I'm there to stay. I've come back to them twice. That tells you how good their service is, and there's really no other company out there that competes with them. So I really do like ConvertKit, and there's so much you can do. You can set up payments on there. You can set up all kinds of different reoccurring things within ConvertKit now to help people get marketed to for your business. The next one is Google Business. This one people do use quite a bit, where you go out to Google Maps or Google Business and you register your business. But a lot of times people, that's all they do. You actually need to be engaged with Google Business, and you need to go out there and either write an article or post a picture every single week. Once a week, just every single week. Make sure you're doing some kind of update within Google Business. It helps your SEO for your website. It helps draw people in to your website. It helps where you rank in the search when people go to Google Maps and they do a search, or they do a search within Google, and your business can come up there from Google Business with information about your hours, your phone number, your web page, just a little bit. Maybe you have a current post. It'll show up right within Google search. So you need to be using Google Business, and you need to be using Google Business quite frequently. The next one is O365 or Microsoft 365. I use it primarily for my email. I used to use Google, and I used to use Google Docs and Google Drive and whatever other services that Google had, but I just wasn't ever happy with it. Microsoft has been around so long that the Office suite is just so powerful, whether you use it for notes or you use it for Excel or Word, whatever it is. What I like to do is I use O365 to integrate in with my Acuity calendar. I also like to set it up so I use OneDrive to keep track of all my proposals. All my proposals, I can email those right out from OneDrive to my customers. You can use Dropbox and Google Docs and everything like that. I find it's easier using O365. I like how it integrates with all the different systems. I like how you can subscribe to calendars. I subscribe to different holiday calendars. I subscribe to school calendars. So I have those on my calendar, and I can plan. I can plan my stock images appropriately, so I know what stock images will be coming up around what holidays that would be popular. I also know how to advertise mini sessions, whether I'm having Easter or Halloween or Christmas mini sessions. I can do that by going to my O365 calendar, subscribing to all those different events, and being able to plan accordingly. It integrates a lot easier, I find, with the applications that I use on my iPad and my Mac and my iPhone. I just like O365. It's been pretty robust. I've tried to use other systems, and maybe I don't get calendar notifications, or I don't get calendar invites. I don't get calendar notifications from Acuity, which is important because I don't want to miss a client. So I use O365. It's just been very stable. And this is another one that I don't find, not just photographers, but a lot of small businesses try to lean on Google. And again, Google is a free service. They can change things any minute, and it can impact your business and cause you a lot of rework. O365, I think it's like $5 a month. $5 a month just to give me that reassurance that everything's going to be safe, that everything's going to be secure, that I'm paying money into something to help development, to help secure. And I just like O365 better than the other services that I've used in the past. The next one, this is another big one. It's Quicken Self-Employed. You need to keep track of all these expenses. You need to keep track of your mileage. If you're using your car to drive to different events, that's tax deductible. What are you doing to keep track of that? Have you ever gone and drove 50 miles and then a week later you forgot that you wrote it down? Or maybe you never remembered that you wrote it down and you just forgot about it by the end of the year. The biggest thing that I like about Quicken Self-Employed is it will keep track of miles. It will keep track of when you're in your car, and it will show up as trips. Now, here's the thing. If you have frequent trips that you make, whether it's to your studio or to the grocery store or to the gym, you can create an automatic rule that will categorize those trips. They will categorize those trips, whether they're for personal use or business use, and it will keep track of all of it for you. And those ones that you don't create a rule, it literally, you can go through 20 trips in about 30 seconds and categorize them as business or personal use. But it keeps track of all your miles on your vehicles. That's huge. And that is actually a huge money saver at the end of the year. If you're not keeping track of miles in your business, you need to. If you go out and shoot stock photography and you travel someplace to a park, that's tax deductible. Keep track of those miles. If you go to a convention, those are miles you need to track. And Quicken Self-Employed helps you do that. The other thing that I like about Quicken Self-Employed, as you can create a rule with driving, you can also create a rule for transactions. So if you've got common expenses, whether it's common expenses for shoot proof or common expenses for acuity, you can automatically categorize those in QuickBooks, and it automatically does the accounting for you. Once a week, go in and review Quicken. You need to categorize those accounts or those transactions that Quicken did not self-automate for you. And you just need to go out there and visit it. But at the end of the year, what's cool is you can take the file and import it right into TurboTax. Import the file right into TurboTax. It keeps track of all of your expenses, all your mileage, all your deductibles, everything like that. And it's flawless. It saves so much time. I think when I do my taxes, it literally takes me 2 hours tops to do my taxes, and I'm done. And a big part of that is because of Quicken Self-Employed. Quicken's great. I don't use Quicken for my personal finances. I don't use Quicken Self-Employed for my personal expenses either. Do my personal expenses show up in there? Sure, because some of my accounts I do set up within Quicken Self-Employed as accounts. And so I just need to go through and categorize whether they're personal or whether they're business. So many people that I talk to use things like Excel, or they use their bank, or they just use their bank account to keep track of their expenses for their business. You know how much time you're wasting? Do you know how much of a saver, how much of a game changer Quicken Self-Employed is? I save hours a year, hours and hours, probably a dozen or 24 hours a year using QuickBooks or Quicken Self-Employed to keep track of my financial transactions. That gives me 12 to 24 hours a year where I can be resting or out shooting pictures more often or spending more time trying to attract customers. That's valuable time. Valuable time. And I highly recommend that you get some kind of an accounting software. But I highly recommend Quicken Self-Employed. There's multiple different tiers, whether you're using QuickBooks. QuickBooks is really, really difficult to use. There's a huge learning curve. Quicken Self-Employed, you can literally go out there and learn it in 5 or 10 minutes and you're done. And you know what to do every single week. It takes me 5 minutes to process my transactions every single week. That's it. And at the end of the year, everything's put together in a report for me and I'm able to import it into TurboTax. The other thing is also gives you nice dashboards. It lets you know how your sales are doing. How are your expenses doing? What's your profit for the year? What's your profit since the business started? Photography is expensive. Photography has a high upfront cost fee if you go into it full blown. It can have a really cheap cost of entry or a very high cost of entry. And you need to level out those expenses over time. But Quicken Self-Employed, highly recommend it. Number 7, I don't know how to say it properly here, but professional photographers need to have professional business cards. There's a lot of cheap, crappy business cards out there. And a lot of times when you give them to people, they end up being missed or being gone someplace. For me, I love Moo business cards. Yes, they're a little bit more expensive, but yes, they're higher quality. And yes, it's been proven with my customers, they do not throw them away. I put a nice picture on the back, whether it's myself or something else, but usually myself, so they know facial recognition. They might not remember my name, or if it's somebody that I pass a business card to on the street, they might not remember my name if they saw a business card and didn't know who it was, and they'd throw it in the trash. With that, it's got my picture on it. And like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. I ran into him at the grocery store. He's a photographer. He's a headshot photographer. I want to call him and get a headshot. But these things are so nice and they're thicker. People feel bad to throw them away because they know they're expensive business cards. I've had multiple people tell me that they keep that business card because it's so nice. The paper's so nice. The picture's so nice. It's so vibrant. But Moo business cards, hands down, are the best business cards I've ever used. So that completes the total 12 tools that I currently use in my business that I really wouldn't want to be without. There's other tools that I use, but maybe they're not tools that I use all the time, and they're not tools I find as absolutely critical to run my business. These are the 12 tools that I need to run my business. If I didn't use one of them, I would have a gap someplace. It would either be costing me more time or maybe not being as efficient as possible within my business. So these are the 12 tools that are in my toolbox. I have other podcasts coming up where I'm talking about what's in my camera bag, what's in my studio, what are the types of equipment that I use, what are the types of equipment that I suggest for beginners. If you've got a topic that you want me to discuss on this podcast, go to 2MM Academy, and there's a form on there. There's a form to ask me a question, whether it's a personal question about photography, or maybe it's a business question on how to get started in business, or maybe it's a topic that you want me to cover on this podcast. Go ahead and throw that question out there. I will answer them. I answer them every time that they come in. So I'm happy to answer any question possible to help you start making money from your photography. That's what this podcast is all about. That's my passion, is to help people. I want to help people become successful, not just within their photography career, but any aspect of their lives. I want people to be happier. I want to do whatever I can to give you the information to help taking your photography to the next level. Until next time, get out there, keep practicing, and become a better photographer.
Thank you for listening today. We would love to hear from you and would love you to engage with the community. For more tools, tips, and know-how, head over to the 2mm Academy at 2mmstudio.com and join us.